Hey everyone, welcome to my very first video newsletter. I'm super excited. I saw a couple of my friends doing it. Shout out to Brooke. And I really wanted to hop on the bandwagon. So here it is. Let's recap my February. So there was three main pillars of this month regarding content and interests that I kind of narrowed into during the month of February. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on in this newsletter. In the written component, which this video will be attached to, there'll also be like some content recommendations and some closing thoughts for my goals for March. So the main three pillars focus on exploring autism diagnostics with a brain-machine interface kind of viewpoint. I also completed my first virtual neurosurgery case study, and I wrote a Medium article about that and learned a lot about neuroanatomy and what it takes to remove a tumor. The last part of February, and this has been present through the month of March so far, has been just valuing the importance of self-love and mindfulness and mental well-being. Okay, so for the first pillar, I've been reading a bunch of research articles to familiarize myself with the content of evidence, neurophysiological evidence of either neurodevelopmental disorders or just cognitive deficits. So one of the main articles, I will link it down below, it was published on the Nature website, and it essentially focused on neurosuppression and like weaker neural deficits in people that have been diagnosed with ASD. ASD is autism spectrum disorder. So essentially, you would look into, they used MRI machines in this study in particular, and looked at the neurocomputational challenges and in people with autism, and the focus group that with people that didn't have autism, they found that there was actually enhanced behavioral performance in some tasks that are really sensitive to neural sensitivity. I said that twice. So in areas of the autistic brain, there are deficits, but there's also areas where certain functioning processes function easier than it would in a neurotypical brain, which is so interesting because not only are you looking at the deficits, but you're also looking at this like external kind of, I don't even know if it's an evolutionary thing where it changes, but it's so interesting. This could be evident through hyperfixation, which I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with that, but that basically means when someone with like a neurodevelopmental disorders, like focusing on a subject matter for intense, even it could be multiple hours at a time. And often their neurotypical counterparts aren't able to do this because they don't have the neurochemical and neurophysiological makeup to do so. So in light of that, I've been reading multiple research papers, like I mentioned, and I'm going to be releasing a new YouTube series and possibly an article series about these different papers and getting in contact with the authors. So that will be on the lookout for me posting soon. For the neurosurgery tumor case, I focused, the case was basically a pituitary adenoma, which if you don't know, that is a non-metastatic tumor, which basically in simplistic terms mean it's benign, so it's non-cancerous, which grows in the pituitary gland. And if you're not familiar with what the pituitary gland is, it's a small gland and it's located at the base of the brain, and it produces hormones that regulate bodily processes and functions. So think about growth and hormone reproduction and metabolism. If you're going through puberty, often people that have a larger pituitary gland due to like genetic disorders, or sometimes just with the tumor, which is super rare, they will be super tall or quite short because they won't go through puberty normally, and you would have to use hormone or steroids to like increase that growth. So that's really interesting. Another kind of fun thing to talk about. The main reason why this tumor was impeding or so negative for the human that it was with is because there's this thing like near the bridge of your nose called the optic chiasm. Well, it's not technically near your nose. If you read the article, you'll see. And the patient presented with narrowed vision, and that was the tumor suppressing on this optic chiasm nerve, which was impeding the growth or the ability for them to see. And basically, the people at Lenox Hill that posted this neurosurgery virtual OR removed the tumor completely through the patient's nose. So this is called an endonasal approach. So use an endoscope, which is like a little camera that's like a long camera that they stick up in the patient's nose, and they were able to fully remove the tumor just through that, which is so cool. Like I don't know if you guys are relaying the same excitement as I am, but I'm ecstatic. Like that is so cool. You don't even have to open the skull or go through the dura or anything. It's insane. Okay, now for the last part of this, valuing the importance of self-love and confidence. This part, and I'm going to be fully transparent, I wasn't really wanting to talk about, and it makes me a little uncomfortable in the sense that like I have to be vulnerable. I feel like with my advocacy, I'm able to do that. But lately, I've been learning more about self-love and the importance of confidence and going into a room and having the confidence where you know what you're talking about, but then you also know that you don't know what you're talking about, if that makes sense. So being able to have confidence in your abilities, but then also be able to understand areas where you're incorrect and know that you have an opportunity to learn and grow from the individuals around you. So to practice that, I have a couple different opportunities that I'm working on and just trying to meet people and hang out with people, coffee chats, or I like matcha lattes. So if you're interested in like hanging out, meeting me, feel free to use my contact info below. And I'd love to grab coffee and talk about tech, science, anything really. So yeah, that is the rest, or that's the last of my newsletter. I hope you all enjoyed my first video newsletter, and if this does well, I'll do more. Bye.